Welcome to the August Professional Railroading Focus, Operating Cab Communications. Let's start this month's review on a serious note. This year, to date, over 64 CSX locomotive operator decertification events have occurred. Look at these numbers. Although they represent an improvement over last year, each one of these still represents a potential catastrophe. Overspeed, track segment, stop signal, brake test, and safety device tampering incidents aren't just violations of federal law. They are a serious risk to your life and the lives of your coworkers and the general public. The penalties are steep for breaking these rules. Federal law mandates a minimum of 30-day suspension from your job. Of course, the maximum penalty is a loss of life.
In talking with locomotive operators who had been involved in previous FRA decertification events, they shared with me that the common theme of why the occurrence happened was because they temporarily lost focus or became unattentive.
So what can we all do as professional railroaders to eliminate these serious incidents? Let's look at these three separate rules that all center around one common solution: communication. As always, every task on the railroad must start with a thorough job briefing. Effective job briefings make us more aware of our surroundings and better prepared to recognize and avoid potential hazards. Remain alert for anything out of the ordinary that occurs during your shift and communicate those changes to your teammates immediately.
As professional railroaders, we all understand the importance of the initial job briefing. However, of even greater importance is the continued or follow-up job briefings to ensure the safety of the coworkers and the progress of the train movement. The key element to this successful job briefing is teamwork, that both people participate throughout the tour of duty.
Rule 34 and 34A concern operating cab communications. Remember, these operating rules are requirements, not recommendations. The responsibility of working safely and communicating with your coworkers lies solely with you. On the line of road, it's you and your crew. Don't be passive. Actively work to keep yourself and your teammates alert and aware by following the rules and communicating. Rule 34 states that employees must maintain a lookout for signals or conditions along track affecting the movement of their train. Rule 34A requires employees in the operating cab of an engine to communicate certain information to each other. Along with a track name or number in multiple track territory, employees must announce the name of each signal governing the movement of their train as soon as the signal aspect is clearly visible, and again just before passing it. The name of each sign displayed in connection with TWC authority, yard limits, temporary speed restrictions, workforce limits, and finally, the observance of burning fuses. A crew member in the operating cab of an engine must announce by radio the following conditions or occurrences: the name and location of each block and controlled point signal, train entry into each TWC authority from any location, train departure from each TWC authority as soon as the authority is reported clear to the train dispatcher, passenger train arrival and departure at passenger stations, the presence of cars loaded with pulpwood or poles in the train when approaching trains and equipment on adjacent tracks, train entrance into a passing siding, when stopping and each 15 minutes after being stopped on a main track or passing siding. These announcements must include the train ID, engine number, and direction of travel. In multiple track territory, the track name or number must be included in the announcement. Crew members not in the operating cab must acknowledge signal and TWC announcements. If a crew member fails to acknowledge a communication, the engineer must determine the reason at the next scheduled stop.
Communication has no boundaries relative to craft, age, or experience. Every professional railroader has the right and responsibility to assert themselves, to communicate to their coworkers when conditions change, or to alert them to unsafe acts.
Communicating signals, block authorities, speed restrictions, markers, and other conditions help keep everyone focused on the task at hand. Remember, the most common reason given by our fellow employees involved in a decertification is simply, "I lost focus." Follow the rules, communicate conditions with each other, and stay focused on the constantly changing conditions of the railroad. This is the only way to avoid a potential catastrophe due to an overspeed, track segment, stop signal, or brake test violation. The professional railroader knows that his safety and the safety of those around him is riding on the line.